Hello and welcome to another edition of your favourite podcast, Insane in the Membrane.
Insane in the Membrane.
Greetings, weary traveller. It is I, Rich Wilson, the innkeeper. Come in and have some mead and a potato and maybe a chunk of cheese and bread. Welcome. I've been watching old films lately, and that's been a lot. There's been a lot of that. Weary travellers wandering around in the woods. It always makes me laugh when I look at those old films in the medieval times, and you're like, is that really how they dressed? Did they really do that? It seems those shoes look very sturdy for the Middle Ages or whatever it was, the medieval times. Anyway, I don't know. You can't get caught up in all that Hollywood stuff, can you? Of course, it would be rubbish if they actually looked like what it was like back then. You know, wandering around in your own shit. Good. Anyway, we went to a castle because my wife Kate loves a castle, so we went to Powys Castle in Wales, and had a wander around there, and that was interesting. I have an aversion to it though, because I was dragged around castles as a kid, so now it just reminds me of being a kid and not wanting to go to castles, so I have to really fight those horrible childish urges. But I really enjoyed it. I did enjoy all the tapestries and seeing how they used to live. Wonderful gardens as well in Powys. And then we had a scone and a cup of tea, because that's what you do when you go to a National Trust venue. That's what you have to do. It's obligatory. And then you have to buy a pencil and an eraser. That's what you have to do. And if you're around that area, there's another bank holiday coming up, I believe. Is it the 29th of May? Spring bank holiday, is that right? I don't know. There's been a bank holiday every weekend this month, isn't there? But as producer Paul and I we do this, so we don't really. Well, I gig all the time, so I don't really make the most of bank holidays. And producer Paul has to do a load of work before all the bank holidays to make sure he's at home with the wife. Otherwise, he's going to be all hell to pay. So he works his arse off, as producer Paul. Good on him. And and thanks to you. You support us, we keep this going. Thanks to you guys, thanks to you wonderful patrons and you wonderful listeners. Very, very much appreciate you all still being there. It's really lovely of you. And we're getting into the summer now, aren't we? Proper summer is underway, so we can all start walking around in our crappy shorts and our pink skin, looking like a stick of Brighton Rock. I like that when you see that really bad tan on, and it's always the fellas, isn't it, mostly? I don't need to put any suntan lotion on. You go, mate, you look like a crab stick, sort yourself out. Right, let's get on with it, shall we? This week's guest is the fantastic Amelia-Rose. She's a funny comedian, brilliant human being, and she does a lot of work in the mental health area. Is that right? Have I said that right? Probably not. But she works in a prison, and so she deals with mental health things every day, and she's a mental health specialist, and she's fantastic. And it was really interesting chat that we had with her, and she's really been going through it as well in her private life. Like, sadly, her dad passed away, which is on my mind a lot lately. My dad's getting older, and I don't want him to go. He's got a while yet, I'm sure, but he's still he's 75, 76, and then, I don't, for those of you who lost a parent, I can't imagine what you must be going through, and I know it's coming, and I'm not looking forward to it. And Amelia has just gone through that, and I felt for her, I really did, and she still came on the podcast and having a chat. So we're going to dedicate this episode to Peter Leathers, who was Amelia's dad, and by all accounts a top dude, and she said, the man that gave me my superiority complex. Amelia. So this is for Amelia's dad, Peter Leathers. What a shame. It's a real shame, but it comes for us all, doesn't it? And I don't want it to, but it's going to happen, I know. And to anyone else that's lost parents or loved ones, whatever, I feel for you. It's not nice, and I know it's part of life, but it's not very nice. But this was a really good episode with Amelia. We had a really good chat, and you'll hear in the episode what kind of person she is. She was brilliant. I really enjoyed talking to her. So coming up in a minute is the fantastic Amelia-Rose.
Insane in the Membrane.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's me, Rich Wilson, and today I'm joined by the wonderful Amelia-Rose. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Where are you at the minute? Where do we find you?
I'm at home, which is Ilkley in West Yorkshire.
Oh, I know Ilkley. Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, North Leeds, North Bradford, bit of a tourist spot. Cow and Calf, people normally know it for.
Right. Is that where you're from?
Yeah.
I've got a soft spot for Yorkshire. I love it up there. I think it's a beautiful place. Yeah, I've gigged loads up there. Yeah, I don't know what. I just tend to just gig in the north quite a bit. So,
well, I think we've got a good sense of humour up here.
I think so. You're always up for it, and it's always great. I love it.
Yeah.
So you're. I've seen that you're gigging around and that. How long have you been going?
Well, so I did. I think we've got a little bit of a link about how I started. So I did a comedy course called Laugh at Leeds, which is run by the gorgeous Silky.
Oh yeah.
He tells me that he bullied you a little bit to start a bit of stand-up, which doesn't surprise me because he bullied me to do the improv course after. So I did that, and that ended at the end of 21. And then on Valentine's Day 22, I did my first sort of real gig, as it were. Mm-hmm. So I've been going just over a year, but I've done just over 25 gigs. So really spaced out, try and fit it in with work. Yeah. So it's sort of felt like a long time, but actually in reality, in terms of hours and minutes, it's not that long, really. It's
the same for everyone. I've said that before. I've said it before. When you're starting out, you go, oh, I am a comedian now, and you go, and then you end up, you do like 6 gigs a year, and it's it just takes time to sort of get into it. It takes a while. Like my wife is she's doing it, and she's having to start again because of the pandemic. But it's hard. It's hard because it's all about the connections. That's why you need to do the gigs. It's not just about the stage time. It's meeting people, and then they go, oh, come and do this gig, come and do that gig.
This is it, absolutely. And I like to think I'm quite good at networking. That's my thing. I'll do a lot of aggressive DMs. You've got to, though. If you don't ask, you don't get. And if you're not going to back yourself. Yeah. And then once you meet somebody who runs good nights and they rate you, they recommend you to other people. And that's kind of how it's happened. And I've ended up in really good company. I've been really lucky. Yeah,
I know. I saw the picture of you with Rob Rouse.
Yes.
And he's another one. See, it was Silky that bullied me into doing comedy, but it was Rob Rouse that actually told me I could do it. He was the first person to say, I think you've got it, mate. I think you could do this.
Yeah.
So, he's a top boy.
The time I heard that, it just, I respond very well to positive feedback. And I think if I admire someone and they show they believe in me, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I have got this. I'm always imposter syndrome. I'm waiting for the day a promoter's like, she's not even funny. Why is she here? What's the fear?
I mean, there's going to be, you can't, not everyone's going to like you. There's going to be, even now, I mean, I'm 20 years in nearly, and it's, there's some promoters that don't book me, don't like what I do. Well, there's others that love what I do, and it's just like life, isn't it? You can't please everyone. You're going to, I think you have to be, I mean, and that's easier. Now I'm older, I've kind of got my head around that. But when I was young, it used to think that someone didn't like me used to just crush me.
Hideous, yeah. I've done a lot of work on that. I used to be a real people pleaser. And then, as you say, I mean, I'm 32 in a couple of months, but the past couple of years, I've done a lot of work and thought, do you know what? I'm a nice person. I work hard. Yeah. And if you don't like me, it's on you.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell myself that.
I mean, don't get me wrong. We fuck up now and again. I'm always saying this on here. We all make mistakes. We fuck up. We make bad choices. We get a bit selfish sometimes. But I think, on the whole, fundamentally, you're a decent person if you recognise that. You go, oh, fuck, I shouldn't have done that. Or I don't know why I was behaving in that way.
Yes, I'm a huge fan of accountability. Big time. I'll put my hands up and say, I messed up. And actually, do you know what? I've learned the best lessons I have from doing that. And people respond to you when you do that. Yeah. I respect people who will be accountable for stuff. And that's how you grow.
I know, but there are some people, especially in this industry, that they just, I don't know, the further up the ladder they get, the bigger the arsehole they become. And then some people encourage it. They kind of like, oh yeah, well, they're a talented person, so you know, they get to behave in this sort of way. And you're going, listen, that's going to bite you on the arse. You know, if you encourage an arsehole to be an arsehole, one day you're going to get covered in shit.
Yeah.
And, you know.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
I've always been, I think this is why I got in a lot of trouble when I was younger. Hierarchy to me doesn't exist. We're just human beings. So not really, like, you know, respectful, but not really bothered who you are, because we should all be treating each other in the same way. And do you know what, though, to be fair, 90% of the comedians I've met and the bigger, you know, like Rob Rouse, like Nina, have been super open, and I haven't felt like they've looked down on me. And actually, there's Jenny Hart as well. She put me in touch with Graham Rayner, who I know you did.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's been brilliant, and he's been massive in terms of how I've progressed. And actually, there's a lot of people who want to support you, and that's stays.
That's the thing with this industry. There's one or two people that you'd rather not be in a green room with, but on the whole, people are pretty cool, very supportive. Especially, like I say, like the ones that have been going longer. Like Rob Rouse has been going. He's been going longer than I have, and he's always been so supportive. And there are loads of people like him. That, like, as you said, Nina as well. And they're just happy to be doing it. They're good at what they do, and they want to encourage other people to have a nice time. And it's so lovely. So when I say there are arseholes, but they're very few and far between. Yeah,
agreed. And I think actually, for the most part, if you are secure in what you do and you can put your ego in check, you're not worried about it. I can imagine some people thinking, oh, well, I wouldn't want that person to end up progressing because that might stop me getting booked, or I don't necessarily want someone to be recognised like I am because I've got my reputation and blah, 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 blah. And I understand that.
Yeah.
But it's nice that actually it's mostly just encouragement, which is just really nice.
No, it's lovely. And I think with that, I mean, there is, you know, people, I think in life in general, I think just don't worry about what other people are doing. Yeah. If you just focus on what you're doing and do it to the best of your ability, you're going to get somewhere. You're going to get the job that you want. You're going to get the gig that you want. Yeah. If you focus on yourself, you're too busy looking at other people going, oh, why have they got that? Why? That's not fair. Or you're worried that, they're too similar to me. I'm not having that. You're going to get a whole world of trouble. So you've just got to just focus on what you're doing, do the best you can. Be a decent person when you're around other people. Just don't be a cunt, you know?
Yeah, it's not hard, is it? It's not rocket science, but I do think that view actually is sometimes the minority, and I just think, is that not normal?
Yeah.
Just be respectful.
But I think it's the thing that separates the wankers from the decent people is the fact that, as I've already said, you're kind of aware of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you always keep yourself in check. You're always sometimes you're overly cautious. You're kind of like, sorry, I'm really sorry if I've upset you. And you go, no, you haven't. You're all right. Don't worry. But other people that aren't like that, they just got their eyes on the prize. They never look behind them. They're just always facing forward. And you go, all right, fine. You do you, mate. You know, I'm going to do what I do. You carry on doing that. You know, and
I've definitely been guilty of that for sure in this arena. And I'm a competitive power lifter, and I think when you're around, you know, the top dogs, you think, well, they're progressing so much. I want to progress that much. And not necessarily it's not fair. I hate the victim card. Yeah. But it's, you know, what are they doing that I'm not, or why am I training as hard or working as hard and it's not happening for me? And that I have had to get myself in check, as you say, with that, and just think, do you know what? I'm doing my best. It's all I can do. And actually, in reality, if I wanted to do more gigs and I wanted to do bigger gigs, I would have to take a risk and I would have to give other things up. So, you know, there is some decision making in that. Yeah.
What got you into the powerlifting thing?
So, actually, an ex, we split up 3 years ago now. But when we met, he was really into the gym. He went 6 days a week. And I really struggled with that. And I didn't get the gym thing. I've never been good at sport. I was never picked for teams, which I was cool with. Yeah. You know, I'm not a runner. Cardio isn't my thing. And eventually, after about 1.5 years, I sort of went down, and the guy who runs the gym, who's my coach now, was sort of like, oh, let's get you underneath the barbell and we'll just do some squats and just see how you find it. And a couple of days later, my ex fed back to me that he'd said he thought I was a natural and I was good at this. And again, it was a little bit like how I found my way through comedy. That was enough for me to go, someone believes in me.
Yeah.
I want to keep doing this. And then I realised, I was like, oh, I am quite good at this. This makes me feel good. I'm seeing loads of progress. And just what it does for my head, it is therapy in such a big way. And it's my social scene as well.
Yeah. Is it very competitive in that world?
Do you know what? It's actually, the two are very similar in terms of there's loads of support because no one gives a shit what you look like.
Yeah.
No one gives a shit what you lift. We all know we've had to start from somewhere. When you're around the best of the best and you're competing against European champions and British champions, it's very easy to feel inferior.
Mm.
And of course, when you compete, it is a competition, but the support you get from everybody, you've got strangers in the room screaming your name. Everybody just wants to see everyone at their best. And everybody wants to see people being proud of what they've done because we all know how much work it takes.
Yeah.
So actually, it's very similar. It's like a big family, and you get people who compete at 14 and people who are competing in the 70s, and it's just ace. I love it. I think it's super inclusive.
Yeah. I joined the gym again a couple of years ago. I used to have a personal trainer and I loved it because I had someone to answer to.
Yeah.
And he's a top boy. His name's Andre. He's from Lithuania. This fucking massive dude. And he even now there's things that he taught me that weren't even like gym related. It was just about like being organized and planning and just, like there was one day, I've said this before, but I turned up. I was going through some shit, and I remember I turned up at the gym and I had a towel and one shoe, and he just went. He just goes, "You're just wasting my time and your money." Yeah. He goes, "Just put it in your bag the night before. Make sure you've got it." He goes, "You know you're coming here."
Yeah.
And that just stayed with me. I was like, "Oh yeah, if you've got something to do tomorrow, get your bag ready." And then you're not rushing around. Like today, I was rushing around this morning because I'm hanging. A mate of mine, we went out for a drink last night. We went out to have a chat, and it ended up we had a couple of pints. And so this morning, it's just carnage because I'm not drinking as much as I used to. So now the hangovers hit harder. But yeah, so I'm running around this morning. I had a shoe on. I can't find my wallet, and then my wife's like, "You got to drop me off at work." I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be with you in a minute." So I've made her late as well. But it's just. But normally, if if you've got something to do the next day, get your bag ready.
Yes, and this is something I've learned the hard way, and it's always been a struggle. And again, I'm not a victim; I am responsible. But my life is chaotic. My personal life and my functioning is poor. And I started a new job a month ago, which is an old job. I've gone back. Okay. And I thought, right, how can I make my life easier? And I realised it's not giving myself 25 minutes to rush out the door because then I leave and I'm stressed and I'm flustered. Yeah. And do as much as I can the night before. And it sounds so stupid, and I knew this already, but it's remarkable how much easier it makes your life.
It's mad, isn't it? It's just it's like I used to like doing this, and I used to look at on the train on the way in, and I'd go through I'd make notes on the train. And you're like, you know that someone's going to be on the show, so why haven't you done this? Do it before. Yeah. Yeah. And then when you get on the train and you've got your notes already, you can just flick through them. You've got a plan. And honestly, my wife is one of the most organised people ever. And she has taught me so much about being organised because I don't know how I coped. I think producer Paul was my wife because he's on top of it all.
Everyone needs a work wife.
And every now and again, he just drops me a WhatsApp. Don't forget, we're doing this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, cool. Yeah. You need people like that in your life. It's important. I've got a girlfriend who will remind me a couple of weeks before that we've got an event. So she'll go, don't remember, we're going to, don't forget, rather, we're going to a wedding next week. And that's love. That's people caring about you and wanting you to do the best that you can. I think I used to overcompensate and be overly organised and driven by anxiety because I've got, surprise, like
99% of comedians. And as I know you've said before, likely yourself, I was diagnosed with ADHD about 4 years ago now. And then once I got through that, and I'm on meds for that. I know people have got lots of different opinions. My opinion is do what's best for you. But once I got medicated for that, my anxiety lowered so much that I almost got to a point where I was so relaxed that I was like, oh, sometimes having a bit of anxiety is good to get you into gear.
Yeah.
So I'm in the middle at the minute. I'm getting better. But what I've realised, and it's all right, which I was always a bit ashamed of, I just need a bit of support sometimes from people.
Yeah.
And people are happy to give it if they love you.
Yeah, exactly.
Decent.
I think I've said this before. I remember hearing my youngest son. He was talking to someone. We were having dinner around his, it was like a family thing, and I heard him talking to someone else, and he went, "Well, the thing is with Dad, he just needs a bit of looking after."
Yeah.
And it is that. It's because my brain just fires off in different directions all the time. So I end up doing 4 things at once, and not completing any of them. And you just stand there and you go, "For fuck's sake, just do one thing. Just put the washing on." That's what you're doing. That's why you're in the bedroom.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know.
This is it. And it's so distracting. And it means afterwards you have that feeling of shame and disappointment and you feel crap. And you know it's going to happen, but it's really difficult. I actually don't know how people do it. I don't know how people start the washing up and think, do you know what? I might finish this. that was my plan. Not even have to think about it. I'm like, God, what must that be like? What is your life like?
Yeah. I have literally have to write lists now of what I need to do.
Oh, I don't like a list.
I don't like a list, but I have to because I'll just forget. Because there's so many things. Because we're lucky that the podcast is doing well and gigs are going well, but there's so many different ways that people can contact you.
Yes.
I have to write a note. I have to go, right, check that, check all the messages. Otherwise, people get lost and missed. And
have you got forms of communication which really stress you out? Specific apps or like calls or emails?
Phone calls stress me out. I'd rather you just message me and go, tell me what you want.
Yeah.
But this, can I call you? I think it comes from when I was younger, and I was being a bit of a dick. I was a young lad, and I had a girlfriend, but then there was someone else I was seeing, and I was being a bit of a cock, and so I was hiding from people. So when the phone would ring, I'm like, oh shit, what's this? And I would panic. And now that panic's in me. So every time someone says, "Can I call you?" I'm like, "Oh shit, what have I done now?" Even though I haven't done anything, it's just in me.
Yeah, call me when you can. Why? What's happened?
Why? What happened? Just tell me what it is.
Yeah. Please, just a clue, please.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Can I get? And there are some people that call me just to have a chat, and I can't get my head around that. I'm like, no. It's just not in me to. I would never ring anyone up and go, "How you doing?" I'll drop you a text and go, "How's it going?"
Yeah, same. But I don't know if you find I never ever feel worse after having a chat with someone that I like.
No, never.
I'm always like, that was nice. I should do that more often.
Yeah, every time.
But it's out of sight, out of mind, isn't it?
Yeah, and it is that. There's comedians that they'll phone people when they're on the way to gigs or the way back from gigs, and they're all chatting to each other. And I'm like, okay. It doesn't occur to me to ring anyone.
It wouldn't me either. Wouldn't me either. I feel so bad. The person whose call I screen the most is my mum.
Right.
And I adore her. And I don't know why I do it because, again, growing up, mother-daughter relationships are very complicated. But as we've got older, we've rebuilt that.
Right.
And I always enjoy speaking to her. But I always think, oh, God, not now. And I don't know why. And it obviously comes from something.
Yeah.
And it must have come from previous contact where maybe it was always something stressful.
Right.
Or something I knew would end in frustration and going, do you know what? I can't continue this conversation.
Yeah.
But now we have a lovely chat and then I feel dreadful.
Yeah, I get on well with my parents now. And I think, because when I was a teenager, I was a fucking dickhead. Excuse me. And so I think it did damage our relationship a bit, but now they understand that, look, I'm trying my best. I'm doing the thing that I love. And I know sometimes they can't quite understand what it is I do. They're just, you know, but they get it, and they don't get it. It's a weird one. But you were saying about the relationship between a mother and a daughter. Is it complex?
Oh my goodness me! I mean, for me, certainly, and I know from other girlfriends, it's very different to a mother-son relationship.
Yeah,
that dynamic is just something else, and I think it comes from being a little girl and the expectations that society have on you to be well behaved and just conform a little bit more. And I think as well, to be totally honest, and this might not be with every mother and daughter relationship, I do actually appreciate that some families are fairly normal, which again blows my mind, is this sort of competition.
right. Okay. Yeah, I've heard about this before. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think almost a little bit of resentment, which again brings shame for them, and they don't necessarily want to admit that because maybe that, you know, my mum's always wanted me to have the best opportunities, but in a way that I've resisted a little bit when I was younger. And I think there's probably been a little bit of resentment and why is that happening for her? Why has she got a little bit more independence at that age? Or, you know, I was quieter, or I did this and I did that, even though she did really impressive things.
Yeah.
But perhaps I haven't had the same life that she has, even though hers was, you know, fantastic at times. And I think there is that resentment, and she's done a lot of work on that too. And she's become much more encouraging and much more, I think she now realises I need to do what nourishes me and what makes me feel good, rather than what I should, in inverted commas, be doing. And that is lovely. But I think it's taken a while, and there has been this expectation that you behave a certain way. And I've always been very rebellious. Well, I certainly used to be. And my mum was always very heightened emotionally, you know, and she had a tough time when I was younger. So there was always that competition. And I'm an only child.
Right.
So I think my mum, she loves to tell the story of when she fell pregnant. She went, "Oh, Amelia, I've visited the clinic many times, but I just couldn't do it." And I'm like, cheers, mum. Obviously, you're the best thing that ever happened to me.
Fuck hell.
Yes, loves
I was
it.
sitting outside the door loads of times. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah.
I love her honesty. I do. And so I think there probably is a bit of resentment that I stopped living a life a little bit.
Yeah.
And you know what? I can accept that.
I think I think you can understand why she felt the way she did.
Yeah.
It wasn't a personal thing, because obviously she didn't know you. You know, you were just a little thing inside, but now you're out. Yeah, I can get it. I totally get it. There does seem to be there is resentment, especially as your parents get older, I think. Not resentment, I feel that's a bit of a strong word for my but it's just like they're getting older, and I remember my dad, I was filling the car up and I said to Dad, like, can I get you anything? And he went, yeah, another 50 years of life. And I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. So he's obviously thinking about it. I mean, he's 76 now.
Yeah.
You know, and it's obviously on his mind. And you're like, fuck. So they look at you, and you seem to just be, we're a bit younger and we're taking it for granted almost that we've got loads of time. And
And I think I never acknowledged that, you know, my mum had turned 60 in September, and she's fit as a fiddle. She looks amazing. She lives in Edinburgh, actually, and she goes to 5 Rhythms dancing, and she's always at the theatre and at yoga, and she's, you know, living her best life, actually. But I think it hit her coming up to 60. Oh, I'm not actually that young anymore. And I think for me, in my late 20s and around turning 30, my friends' parents were becoming ill, and some of them are older. And that was really scary, because you think when you're younger that you're invincible and everyone else in your life is invincible.
Yeah.
And that brings a lot of anxiety for you and for them. And I kind of, when you put yourself in that mindset, you think, oh shit, a lot of them probably are thinking, how long have I got left?
Yeah. I know I do. And I'm only 51, but I'm like, shit, man. So I might have only like 30 good years left, maybe. And you're
I
just
mean,
going,
realistically,
yeah.
you know, if I lived to 80, I would be really impressed. You know,
Yeah, so
I'm
would
like,
I.
I just would think that was unbelievable. And then time moves so quickly, and of course, it moves so much quicker when you're older. And I don't know about you. I know I'm still considered young, but I'm not the younger generation anymore, and I'm very aware of that. And I just think, how did I get here?
Yeah.
How did I wake up today in my 30s? What the fuck happened?
This is the thing as well, and I was guilty of this as well. And you do when you hit your 30s, you think, "Oh my god, I'm so old now. Oh my god, I'm in my 30s." But you're not. You're still young. You still got it all to play for. There's still opportunities and things like that. It's when you hit 50, it feels like that because 50 sounds old, and it sounds. I know people say like it's not the same as it used to be. You know, you see old pictures of kids when they were 14 back in the day, and they all had suits on. They looked like they were 45-year-old office workers, you know, because that's how it was back then. But you know, there's still people. People just you do 50 sounds. 50's the one I feel is when it starts to change a bit more. It'll be different again. You know, time as you say. It used to be 40, and people's life expectancy was like they'd be dead at 55. But now, you know, it's moved on a bit. So, you know, 40 becomes the new, you know, the new 30, and 50 is new 40, and that's happening. But there's been a few comics lately, and I've watched them. They go, "Oh, I'm in my 30s now, so I've got to stop." Blah blah blah. I'm like, you haven't got to stop doing anything. If you can still jump over a fence, then jump over a fence. If you can just keep active, keep moving. So that's why the gym or walking or anything, you just got to keep moving.
Yes,
and
you
you'll
do.
And you'll be fine.
You do. I got a massive lease of life at 30, actually. It was, and I know it's a massive cliche. I remember the night before on the phone to my dad, sobbing, and I was like, I'm not going to be one of these women who goes, "Oh my god, I'm 30," and I was just sobbing because I just felt like it's a milestone.
Yeah,
and there was things I had achieved, but things I hadn't. And it freaked me out because, again, and I think I was like, I don't know how I've got here. But then at the same time, I was like, right, I'm a different kind of woman now. And a lot of that's psychological, but I think a lot happens in your 20s with your head, man.
Yeah.
And I sort of thought, right, I know more of who I am now, and I like who I am now. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna do whatever I need to do now. Yeah. Because if I sit around thinking, you know, am I going to meet somebody, or why am I not at this point? When you're 18, me and my mates thought by the time we were 24, we'd be married for 2 kids, which is just outrageous. In some ways, I'm like, I'm still a baby.
Yeah.
But it sort of, I thought, right, I'm going to just reset a little bit. And that was quite freeing.
Yeah. I think we put too much pressure on ourselves. Also, society puts too much pressure on us. Like, we're supposed to have achieved this, that, and the other by this age and that age, and really, it doesn't matter when you do stuff. You just do it. Like, it doesn't matter how old you are. Like, people go, "Oh, when I get, you know, I'll start a diet on Monday," and you're like, just start it now. Just start it now. Or if you want to, or you know, I'm gonna write that book. Write it then. Start writing it. You know, there's no one's waiting for you to do these things. The only pressure really is putting it on yourself, and there's no time limit on when you can achieve anything. Just fucking do it. Do it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when. Just do it.
No, it doesn't. I read the book Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway a couple of years ago, and I really took it on board, and it really spoke to me. And the sort of the fundamental thing is that there's no such thing as a bad decision.
Oh, I don't know about that.
If you don't do it, you'll never know.
No, it's true. That is true.
Sort of okay. Let me put this in context or rephrase it. It's sort of, you know, if you take a chance and go and do something and it doesn't work out, there's always a lesson in everything. And there's always, I mean, I've been to whether it's a gig or a social event and thought, I don't want to go, I can't be arsed, I'm not feeling this. And actually, typically, as I say, if you go and you see people that you like, I've never been to a gig where even if I felt like my set was not my best, not my worst, I'm going to laugh at some point in the evening.
Yeah.
When do you ever feel worse after having a laugh?
Yeah.
And I felt energized, and I forced myself to do things that I would normally talk myself out of. And that is where the opportunities have come from.
Yeah, exactly that. You have to fight that fear. And I've said this before on here, even when someone says, do you want to meet for coffee? And you go, yeah, and you arrange it. And then on the day you go, oh, I'm not feeling it. Fight that urge. Go.
Yes, do it.
Yeah, do it. Because you're going to feel, as you've just said, I guarantee you'll feel better after you've done it. You know, you can spend all day in your dressing gown another day. But, you know,
well,
if you want
to and when I don't do it, I feel bad. And I'm like, right, well, I feel like shit now. And this is completely my fault. And although the idea of doing nothing and staying in is very alluring, actually, in the long run, sometimes you need to, don't you, as you say?
Yeah.
But in the long run, it doesn't actually do me any favours. And then all I'll do is then sit and be like, I'm not living my life.
Yeah. And then it just becomes this vicious circle that you're in,
where
you're constantly, you feel like you're letting people down, and then you're letting yourself down, and then you're like, oh, I should do more, and then that becomes debilitating. So you realise suddenly that you've been in for 2 days, you haven't been out because you're too busy beating yourself up for the things you shouldn't have done. You should have done.
Yeah.
And it's just this kind of thing, and you've just got to break that cycle and go, or just even be the first person to say, do you want to meet up for coffee? Do you want to meet up, go for a walk? They might say no, but probably they'll say yeah. And it's so hard to do that. We were always waiting for people to go, oh, I don't want to get in the way. I know people, we always assume people are too busy. And you're like, just drop them a line. They'll say, because at the minute I'm getting really good at it. And they'll say, do you want to meet up? And I go, I can't this week, but I've got these dates free. Can we do it on one of these dates? And I feel so, just by doing that, I already feel more positive.
You do, and connected to people.
Yeah.
You know, I agree. I think I have a massive fear of rejection. This is a huge issue.
Same. Yeah.
And we've got like a big girls group from school from when we were teenagers, and we are all still friends. We've got a lot of love for each other, and I've got 5 weddings this year, obviously. But we all are there, and we do have these big events, and less so now. A lot of them have kids and are married, etc. Oh my God, what the fuck was I talking about?
We were talking about organising. Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah, obviously, it's such a huge issue. I don't want to talk about it. But in this girls' group, there's sort of like a running joke now. There's 3 of us who are single or 4, and I can put in the group, what's everyone doing this weekend? Or does anyone fancy a coffee if it's a Saturday afternoon or a walk? And it is ignored. And I don't just mean every now and then. It is literally like I haven't put anything, and half an hour later, a photo of one of their babies' shitty nappy. And it was a bit of a running joke. Then it started to hurt a little bit. And then I stepped back and I thought, okay, do you know what? We're at different points in our lives. I'm sure it's not personal, because when we're in person, we have lovely interactions. But I had to stop that, because it was making me feel a bit shitty, and thought, right, who are my people? Who are the people who, even if they can't, as you say, they're like, oh, I'd love to, I miss you. Let's book something in. And I'm like, okay, right, go to the people who are going to make you a priority. And that was a head shift. Yeah.
I think that's it. It doesn't take much to just go, oh, I can't at the minute, but maybe later. You know, and it's that, like you say, when it's just completely ignored. And like you say, not because they don't like you, it's just because people are busy, they've got their own shit going on. And the other side of it is they might feel awkward about saying, oh, mate, I'm really sorry, I can't right now.
Yeah.
There's that as well. So you've got that, you know, we might be sitting there going, for fuck's sake, no one replies to what I send. Because I'm in a WhatsApp group like that, and every time I put a thing and then I get nothing back, and I'm like, but you just got to remember, it's not personal, people are busy. They're doing things, and they don't want to upset you by saying, I'd love to, but I can't.
Yeah.
There's so many things.
People have got their own stuff going on, haven't they? Yeah. And I think I'm very guilty of not responding to people. Yeah. And it's often I'm just overwhelmed. I can't open. I turned all my notifications off on my phone a couple of years ago, and it was so freeing. But then I might open my phone, and not because I'm super popular, but there might be loads of notifications by my WhatsApp, because it just happens that people are checking in, and I can't open them for a couple of days. But then I'll have a time where I'm like, I'm feeling productive. Like, this time of day for me is my peak. And I'm like, okay, I can handle a bit of life admin now, and I'll respond to all these people or reach out, and then of course they'll all come back at the same time, and I'm like, absolutely not. You've missed, that ship has sailed, that window has gone. But people who know me know that, and they get it. They know that's not personal either.
It's just like, I think it's a great word. You've hit the nail on the head. Overwhelms. It is it does become overwhelming, and it's a nice place to be where you're getting messages from people and people want to, do things with you. But every now and again you kind of go, oh, fuck. So I left my phone in another comedian's car the other day, Angela Barnes. So I've been doing some tour support with her.
I was listening to her podcast as well. She's fab. I haven't met her, but she sounds
she's so great, and she's on fire at the minute. She's absolutely smashing it. To the point when we were doing the gigs, and she does a bit before she introduces me. So she goes out, says hello to everybody, and she fucking roofs it. And then she goes, oh, here's my warm-up act. And I appreciate the work. I'm not knocking it, and it's beautiful of her to have me on board. But I said to her in the car, I'm like, you don't need a warm-up act. You fucking smash it, man. Yeah. And so we were coming back from Chorley last week, and we were chatting away in the car, and blah, 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 blah. And then she drove off. She dropped me off, and she drove off. And I'm like, oh, fuck, my phone. I've left my phone in the car. And I just had a moment of like, what am I going to do? And then I'm like, well, if anyone wants me desperately, they'll get in touch with my wife. Or I've got my laptop. I could check messages on there. I think I'll be all right. And it was actually, I didn't get the phone. So that was Friday. I didn't get the phone back till Sunday. So that whole day, no phone.
That is a long time.
It actually felt all right. I didn't really miss it.
Yeah, I suppose it's freeing, isn't it? I think there are times where I feel like I'm attached to my phone, but then if I meet a mate for a long walk, for example, and then we have lunch or whatever, I'm not checking my phone. No. So actually, I've not had it all day, and I work in a secure environment, shall we say. So I can't have my phone in the building, so it stays in my car from about 7:30 till 6 p.m.
Okay.
And that is kind of nice, and I'm not distracted by my phone at work, and I wouldn't have the headspace to be anyway. But it is nice to think, right, I'm focused on something at the minute, and I nip out at lunch and I check it, but actually I don't interact with a lot of people.
No.
And it motivates me a little bit more to get back to them when I have got my phone.
Yeah, there was a bit of that. And Kate, my lovely wife, was going, she goes, all those messages that you'll have, all those things to look forward to. I went, no, they won't. I went, there'll be fuck all. And I got the phone back, and there was fuck all. No one had tried to get hold of me anyway. And you go, okay, fine.
I've done that. I used to put my phone on airplane mode. This was a couple of years ago when I was dating a little bit more, and obviously this is exceptionally unhealthy, that I'd be like, well, they haven't replied, I'm just going to put my airplane mode on for the rest of the evening, and I'll turn it back on and they'll have replied, and when they haven't, I'll be like, oh, I've just totally shot myself in the foot here. Now I feel worse.
Do you find the dating game, not a that's a terrible word to use, but
no, it's a game.
Well, it seems to be. When I didn't really, everyone I've met, everyone I've been in a relationship with, I've worked with, or I've met them through somebody, but I've never been on the dating apps and all these things, and it just sounds fucking horrific.
It is. It's awful. I mean, I haven't been on a date since August, when I went on a bit of a frenzy, and I sort of I met about 5 people in a couple of weeks just for a walk. Yeah. I can't deal with the intensity of sitting down with someone. It's my worst nightmare. Plus I'm too restless. So even if I meet someone like a mate to sit down, I like to go somewhere where it's quick, it's easy, or I can nip out on my vape for a bit of nicotine, and feel like that's okay. And it just wasn't for me. But prior to that, I hadn't dated since the November before that, so a year and a half ago, basically. And then I dated two guys from like June to November. This was 2021, and for the first time in about 18 months at that point, I'd sort of allowed myself to maybe be a bit vulnerable and think, oh, I actually quite like this person. This this feels really healthy. And then I felt blindsided by both of those scenarios. And it just floored me, man. Like, we weren't even established relationship, and there was one guy, and it just rocked my world. It took me so long to deal with it. I went to relationship counselling.
Really?
Yeah, you could do it as a single person, and which I was like, is this tragic or is this fucking awesome? And it was when I finished that I went on these frenzied dates, because we realised that I'm just fucked when it comes to standards and expectations. And I was like, fuck it, I'll give it a go. And again, it wasn't for me. And now I'm just not interested. Just not interested.
No, I find it. Yeah, I'm friends with people that are on the dating apps, and there's again friends of my wife, and they're all doing the dating thing, and they're all messaging each other, going, "What do you think? What do you think this means? What do you think that means?" And it just sounds like fucking chaos, and it is. And you mentioned that another brilliant word, expectations. Like, we have expectations from certain relationships, and if those expectations aren't met, it's like, well, this is shit. What's the point? And you have to, again, it's another thing you have to keep a check on, isn't it? Your own expectations. Because that person's not going to know what your expectations are.
No, and I'll go into it, and from message one, I'm like, well, you're not treating me like a princess, so you can get who the fuck do you think you are? I'm not going to reciprocate, but this is unacceptable behaviour. I'd actually just end up being a bit of a bitch.
Right.
Just really sassy. It's almost a bit of a test. And if someone responds positively to that, I'd be like, oh, okay, they can handle it. They've got the banter. But it's at a level where it's further than it should be for somebody I don't know. But I tell you what,
straight off like that, straight in.
Yeah, pretty much. And then after this counselling thing, I was like, okay, maybe just try being a bit passive almost, and a bit girly and a bit nice. And I thought, no, fuck that, because I can build rapport with people. And if you're, and I'm never like offensive. No. It's not intentional to be nasty or show someone up, but it's who I am, and I'm very laddie, and I'm very much like, oi, what are you saying? Blah 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 blah. And I think, I need someone to feel comfortable with that. But the apps, they make for great content, man. Like, just fucking wicked content. Like, a lot of it's, again, I've got a bit of a cliched set when I do my comedy stuff, and it is a lot of it's about dating. But you couldn't make this shit up.
Yeah,
it's hilarious.
I think again, you mentioned it earlier as well, and it's that there is an expectation for women to be, like you say, more girly, speak when you're spoken to. There's a certain way that you have to behave, and and they're like, oh yeah, and it's like, well, and they go, oh yeah, because men will find it threatening, and you go, well, tough fucking shit. Why should I change who I am so that some dude isn't made to feel uncomfortable? Like,
100%.
I imagine it's changing. I hope it's changing, but it's one of the last things that seems to be kind of hanging on people. I think because we've still got the older generation that still have those values. They're kind of like a woman's place is to, you've got to be quiet, know your place. Don't get involved, don't make a fuss.
Yeah, and I think that I'm always kind of impressed, which is ridiculous, by a man who's not intimidated by me. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of male ego is still a big issue, and this whole toxic masculinity and all this stuff. But I think sometimes men are intrigued by me,
right?
Because I'm a bit of a paradox. I think physically, I don't look like a lad or a laddie kind of gal. But then I've got that sort of laddie banter, which a lot of them like, because they're like, oh, okay, I can play with that. I do my lifting, I do my comedy. I've got for a lot of people, a really fascinating job. And I've kind of, sounds weird. I mean, I'm a mess, but I've kind of got on paper, I've got a lot going for me.
Yeah.
And then I think they sort of, once they see that, and they're like, oh, she's good fun, she's nice, but she's not girl next door. And I do think men will say, you know, I want a strong, independent woman who can do her own thing and, you know, speak up and sort of challenge me and have her own life.
Yeah.
And I do think men at the time, they believe that. But in reality, I don't think it's actually what they want.
No.
And that's a challenge. And for the ones that are accepting, typically, they're the ones that you're not interested in.
Yeah, I think it comes down to where the man is in himself as well. I remember when I was married before, and my wife, my ex-wife, she was a strong woman, independent. She'd been through a lot, and she just dealt with stuff. And because I hadn't dealt with my own things, and like she was the breadwinner, she was, you know, if it wasn't for her, we'd be fucked. And so, and it, you know, there was a moment in me where I just felt a little bit insecure about it. Felt like I wasn't, not emasculated, but I didn't feel like I was being a proper man. You know, I wasn't providing, and I wasn't doing the thing.
Though.
You know? Yeah, but
you know, there's pressure on you guys to be that provider as well.
Yeah,
and that is that side of, you know, men. There are expectations on men, and I get that. But I think at the same time, a lot of women now, I know I do. I kind of was forced to be independent from a young age anyway, but I have this sort of aggressive independence and I can do it on my own. And I've got this, I don't need anybody. But that's a bit of a coping mechanism and it's a bit of a mask because fundamentally, as pathetic as this sounds, I do want to be looked after.
Yeah.
I do want to feel like I can not be as, I guess, like I have to do it all on my own. I would love for someone, not now because I'm not in the headspace for it, but I would love someone to walk into my life and be like, do you know what? Don't worry, we're going to be all right. I've got this.
Yeah.
And that's really what I'm after. But again, that's me putting an expectation on a man to fulfill the role that society says they should have. So I'm fucked.
It's like my wife, she's brilliant. She's like yesterday we had a conversation and she went, I just feel like I'm dealing with it all. And I'm like, no, we're both dealing with stuff. It's just that I don't talk about what I'm dealing with. I'm just kind of dealing with it.
Yeah.
And she just went, she goes, I just need you to do. I'm like, all right, but then tell me what you need because I'm not going to guess. And as far as I'm aware, everything's fine because you're not telling me anything. You seem fine. I'm not going to just out of the blue go, is everything all right? I just want to check.
Yeah.
If I think everything's all right, then everything's all right. I'm like, fine.
Yeah.
But it took everything, you know. Yeah, it just took this thing where she just went, I just feel a bit overwhelmed by it all. It's all, I need you to help me with this, that, and the other. And I went, well, then tell me then. Otherwise, I don't know.
Yeah. We do think, why can't they read my mind?
Yeah.
Why should I have to voice it? And it always makes me laugh, you know, when you say to a bloke, you're like, oh, what are you thinking about? And they say nothing. And then I realise from a lot of feedback from men, they really mean it.
Yeah.
We're literally not thinking of anything. But we don't believe you because we're like, well, how is that possible? But you do need to express your needs. And I've realised that. I think, well, if I don't communicate, actually that's on me as well.
That's it. It's communication on both sides. And because, you know, it's not natural to get up in the morning and before you crack on with it, go to each other, right, is everything all right? Do you need me to do anything? You know, you don't have a fucking staff meeting before you start your day. You know, it's not natural. So you just, you know, you're going about your business and then it takes like something to happen for one of you to go, fuck me, I need some help.
I like the idea of a staff meeting. It's actually not a bad idea, though, is it? I suppose it is you could make it light-hearted, a way of checking in and be like, right, what's the deal today?
Yeah,
do we need to help each other out with anything? And maybe that's quite nice.
Maybe you should actually. But I think I might start doing that. I've got a couple of whiteboards. I might just get one of them out, have it on the side constantly, and go, right, what's today's business? What do we need to do?
Yeah, what haven't we dealt with? I've got thousands of whiteboards, by the way, which is hilarious. I've got one here. It's 4 foot by 3 foot, and it's covered in just notes for material, which I actually started when I first started it. But it's in the background now. And then I've got other ones around the house, and I'm like, I'm going to be organised this week. I'm going to write what I'm doing. Do I look at it? No.
No, it becomes just part of the background. You don't even see it after a while.
Yeah.
I
Notebooks everywhere. I don't know. Would imagine perhaps you're similar. I've got notebooks everywhere. One here, one on the table, pens, post-it notes. Of course, when I need one, fuck knows where any of them are. Nice idea, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I love a notebook. I love a new notebook. I've bought, and it's always been, shit, I need a notebook. I've forgotten to bring one. I'll buy one. So now I've got like 400 of them, all with like one page written on them.
Yeah. And you start one and you're like, this is going to be for this.
Yeah.
And it is it? So when I'm wanting to write stuff or think, right, what do I want to include in a set, for example? And I counted them. I do have 26, which maybe doesn't sound that bad. But when they've all got two written pages in, so I end up going through them all. But sometimes that's quite fun because I'm like, oh, that's funny. Or I forgot about that.
Yeah,
that revision.
I know. Or you go. Oh, I've written a couple of words that I will remember what that was. I was going through some notes the other day because I'm working on a new show, and I found it just said "bee wank," and I'm like, I can't even begin to tell you why I've written that. I don't imagine it's sort of, I'm not pushing the envelope with that material. I don't know what it was. Whatever it was.
It could be that piece of genius that you'll never know. But it'll come back to you. But I know exactly what you mean. I write now. I try not to shorten it. I will write the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because even an extra couple of words makes all the difference. And again, alarmingly, that makes life easier.
Mad, isn't it? So to sum up from this conversation, you just need to be more organised. You need to be more communicative.
Yes.
You need to give yourself a break more. And you still need to push yourself, but you don't have to kill yourself to do it. You know, you'll get things done, you'll achieve things. You just don't need to be but there's like people. I see these videos of these fucking idiots. I start my day at 6 a.m. I drink 14 pints of water. I go to the gym for 3 hours, and then I come back, and then I do this, and then I do that, and then I'm done by midday, and then it starts again at 1 p.m. and then I'm back out, and you're like, mate.
Get a fucking life. Get a life, life, you loser.
I'm better than you. My life is better than yours. I've got 2 days in one, and blah blah blah, and then I have 4 hours sleep. You go, you'll be dead before you're 40, mate.
Yeah, innit? You're just like, right, soz hard.
Yeah. All right, mate. Fucking hell, we're all busy. We're all busy, mate. Take a chill pill, man. Just fucking relax. That's the thing. You've got to, it's like everything. Every chat I have, it always comes back to the same thing. It's all about balance.
Yes.
You know, drink a bit more water, of course, but I don't know many people that can drink 2 litres of water a day. You're just going to forget.
Water.
Yeah,
no way. And 2 litres of coffee, yes.
Well, yeah. 2 litres of coffee.
No. Easily done. Mindless coffee drinking.
I always know I love a cup of tea, and I always know I've had too many when my tongue feels like leather. I'm like,
it's happening to me now.
My teeth are all stink. Yeah. Oh God, already?
Yeah. If I were at work, I would have had more by now.
For the listeners, we're coming up to we're 3 minutes to midday, and you're already on your third cup of coffee. Fucking hell.
It's not a lot, but it calms my brain down. Bizarrely, even though I've talked at you like 100 miles an hour.
No, but this is the point of the podcast. You're the guest. It's all about you. No one wants to listen to the host yabbering on. But that's the thing with ADHD, isn't it? It's things like stimulants and that. They're the things that calm you down if you've got ADHD. Yeah. So I know people for example, when I've done things that I shouldn't be doing, I've had a bit of a party. I don't get chatty. I'm the best person to do drugs with, because I'll just sit and listen. I'll be sitting there going, "Oh, right, yeah, that's interesting," and I'll be DJing and putting tunes on, and people are just downloading their fucking life into my face, and I'm like, "Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, all right, yeah, right, okay.
Yeah, I'm here for you. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. I don't get up and dance around and chat shit. I just go, "Oh, cool. Yeah, all right. That sounds like a great plan." You should do it.
Never. Do you know what? I've never done coke, and I remember someone saying to me, they were like, "It's probably a good thing because I think you'd really like it."
That's when you've had I'm not advocating drug use, but when I've had some good stuff, fucking
do whatever you want to do. Do whatever you want to do.
Do whatever you want to do, as long as it's not hurting anyone. But the thing is, then you get into the whole moral and ethical thing with things like cocaine, and the fact that many people have died before it gets to you. There's that, and there's everything. I think you can trace everything back to something shit. So
yeah. I see that a lot in my work.
What work do you do?
I've got to be very careful about this, which pisses me off, because it's like, wow, you have a career. How dare you be a human being and talk about it? So I'm a mental health nurse, and I work in a prison.
Oh wow!
And I work with 1,100 men.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah.
You see all different walks of life. Some people take no accountability, some who do, some who have committed heinous crimes, but the sound as fuck. The banter's off the charts. But I think when you sort of see, some people have never stood a chance. They've been sent out to buy gear for the parents when they were 4. Nicking cars at 8 is just normal. And I just think, do you know what? If you hadn't had a mentor or someone to say, I'm going to get you out of this situation, or I'm going to get you into something that's going to be good for you, you don't have a chance. And you don't know what your life could be like. A lot of people function better in prison. They're safer in prison. They're better people in prison. Better, in inverted commas, in terms of how they function and their impact on society. Because drugs, 90% of the time it comes back to drugs. And it's sad. It's really sad.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's all very well doing these things, but someone somewhere is suffering.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we need to be careful of, or be mindful of. I always used to worry about going to prison, because I think I knew people that had gone, and I had this feeling that I was going to end up doing something silly. I'm not criminally minded, but I was going to do something stupid.
Yeah.
And I did once. I got in trouble, and I ended up doing community service. That's the nearest I've ever come, and that really straightened me out. I was like, I can't handle the thought of being banged up.
Yeah.
And I know people have. We've had people on the podcast, and that have been to prison, and they were telling me all about it, and you just go, fuck, it sounds horrific.
Yeah, I listened to I feel awful, I can't remember her name now. It was one of the recent ones.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Baker.
Oh, fuck, I forgot her name as well. Jesus
Christ. Oh God, I feel awful. But I listened to that, and that was really interesting, because what she spoke about and her experience in prison of the criminal justice system and was very different to what I observe. And I don't know whether I would imagine a lot of it is female prisons are very, very, very different. And females are treated very differently in the criminal justice system. Yeah. And I don't know anybody who's been to prison. I'm from a really lovely part of the world. You could call me privileged. My mum was a single mum. She worked her fucking arse off. But at the end of the day, the life I lead, the area I live in, isn't normal. There's no poverty in this town.
Oh, really? Francesca Barker Mills. Sorry, Francesca Barker Mills. That's it.
Barker Baker. Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Yes.
It was fascinating listening to her story.
Yeah.
And it was very like, oh, okay, that's a side. I was like, oh, I almost was like, oh, I disagree. But then it wasn't a case of disagreement. It's just, wow, that's an experience that I haven't seen. But I think I didn't know what real poverty was until I started my nursing and I worked in the community, and I went to people's homes who had fucking nothing.
Yeah.
And they were living in dirt. They had flies. I went to one guy's house who had a shitty, disgusting mattress on the floor and a camping chair, and that were it.
Fucking hell.
And it was just, then it was awful, and it opened my eyes a lot. And I think there aren't many people, fucking hell, I'm not a saint. I laugh, when they're like, oh, NHS saving lives. I just think it's a joke. I wasn't born to be a nurse. It was literally an impulsive decision one day. But I'm grateful that I view the world very differently to a lot of people that I know from this town, and they're not bad people. It's exposure. And I wasn't exposed to it when I was young, but my dad's from Billy Elliot country. He's from a mining town. He had a really awful relationship with his parents. He went through a lot of abuse, a lot of trauma, and he has got nothing, but he has raised me very much to be, you look out for each other. People are struggling. You be kind, and I'm open-minded, and I think with my work, people are like, oh, God, have you met murderers? And I'm like, yeah, they're not all dickheads. It's circumstantial. And when I'm at work, I'm at work. I'm in nurse mode. Don't get me wrong, there's some people who walk away, and I'm like, you're a bellend, or, what you've done is heinous. But it is a case of, well, actually, I'm glad I know about these things. I'm glad I know how people live. And I think it's interesting. When I started working there, it did open my eyes to think, shit, anyone could end up in prison at any time.
Yeah. It's
too easy. And that scared me, because I was like, I would die in prison. I'd need to be someone's bitch. 100%. Won't be able to, you don't have Spotify. You don't know. It's really basic stuff. It's like, yeah, you might have a radio, you might have the telly, but you can't pick what you want to watch.
No.
You can't count whenever you want. You might have where I work, I nearly said where it was then. I mean, it's pretty obvious when you work at my location, but everyone shares a cell. You've got no privacy at any point. Your toilet's in there. You can't just nip out for a shower.
Yeah.
And I just think it must be fucking awful. And when people are like, I'm anxious, I'm stressed, I'm feeling low, I validate it back to them, and I say, I would be really struggling in your position.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it is not abnormal you feel this way.
No.
I don't know what I'd do.
That's it. I mean, that's what people don't understand. And they go, well, they did a crime, so they deserve to be banged up. And you go, yeah, they got to be punished. But at the same time, you've got to understand why they did the thing in the first place.
Yes.
Like you said, it's not all, it's like Francesca was saying, she fucked up. It wasn't, and she just got caught up in a thing.
Yeah.
That she was doing. And you get caught up in it, and you're trying to make it better, but it's getting worse, and you make bad decisions, you do this. And so a lot of people that are inside, like you say, it's just because they just ran out of options and they fucked it up.
Yeah.
And they didn't, they should be punished, but also they are human beings, and there needs to be. Unfortunately, what happens is once you've been in prison, that's it. Society just goes, right, you're done.
Yeah. And how do you move forward?
Yeah, you go,
and then wonder why people come back. And the amount of people who are released without accommodation really fucks me off.
Yeah.
Because I think, well, this person's come from a chaotic lifestyle. They've got no one or nothing. They're going back to the same circumstances, or they're going back to nothing.
Yeah. So what
are they going to do? What the fuck do you think's going to happen?
Exactly. Yeah. This is it. This is society doesn't take care of people like that. Even on so my wife and I are moving out of our flat because it's just getting ridiculous. Can't really afford it. And so we're moving into somewhere a bit cheaper. And even that, you go, right, we can't afford this one. All right, we need to find another one. So then we found another one. But then you're like, but then we got to find the deposit for that one, and we've got to pay the rent, but we can't afford the rent on this one. And that's how you end up homeless, because you go, well, I can't afford to live here, but I can't afford to move.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, I got nowhere to go. And no one gives a fuck. No one gives a fuck. Your family do, but I mean, society doesn't give a fuck about these people, like people that they made a mistake, they fucked up, then they've done their time. And that should be it. It should be like, I did my time. Right, let's help you out so you don't go back and make those same mistakes.
Yeah.
It's like people that have been in the army or fought for their country, or, they signed up and they come out after their time and they're homeless. And you go, even on that level, you should be given somewhere to live because you gave yourself to your country.
Yeah.
So now, as a thank you, you never have to worry about yourself again. You'll be taken care of.
Yeah.
And this thing where
a roof over head, to be warm, to be fed.
Everyone does. Everyone does. And it breaks my heart to think that we have such a broken system that unless you're helping millionaires become fucking millionaires, there's no reason, there's no point to you. And I that's what needs to change. The system needs to change, and it fucks me off. But this is why we have these conversations, Amelia.
Yeah.
This is why we do it. That's why you do the job you do. Yeah. And I'm glad you do it. And it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, mate.
Likewise.
I had a lovely chat.
I love this.
Where are we going to find you? Where can we find you on the socials?
So I'm on Instagram, which is Amelia-Rose Comedy, all one word. I recently made a Facebook page. I feel, I'm a millennial now. I'm not Gen Z. I think I've made a Facebook page. I don't really know what to do about it or how to include people, but that is, if you type Amelia-Rose Comedy, that should come up.
Yeah.
But I mainly use Instagram. Twitter I made an account fucking ages ago called the ADHD Nurse, and I don't know what my login details are. And when I tried to recover my password, I'd set it up with an account from uni, which I left years ago. So I just can't. I can't cope. You'll find me there, and I've also got on my Instagram page. There's a link to my lifting account if anyone's interested in that. So that's where you'll find me.
Excellent. And I'll see you out on the circuit, I'm sure, very soon.
Yes.
Good luck with it all. Keep plugging away. It does get better. It does get better. And this has been Insane in the Membrane. This has been Rich Wilson talking to Amelia-Rose. We'll see you next time.
See you later.
Insane in the Membrane.